afternoon. I'm Shawnee Au, and this is One News Now. President Duterte has backed out of his challenge to debate former Associate Justice Antonio Carpio on matters regarding the West Philippine Sea. Let's discuss that further with Maricel Halili, who joins us live from Mandaluyong. Hi, Mase. Why the sudden change of heart from the president? Was that, not thought about well, or will he be sending a representative? What's going on?
Isn't it ironic, Sean? If you recall, on Wednesday evening during the Talk to the People of President Duterte, he was the one who actually challenged former Associate Justice Antonio Carpio for a debate about the West Philippine Sea. But then, just after 2 days, upon issuing that statement, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque made his announcement early this afternoon saying that the president won't face Justice Antonio Carpio anymore for a debate. Instead, he will send presidential spokesperson Harry Roque to face Antonio Carpio for a debate, provided that the subject will be limited only as to whose administration is responsible for losing the Scarborough Shoal and the mischief reef on that matter. And Secretary Roque also said that if Justice Carpio wants, he can also ask former Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario to join him. Kumbaga, 2 versus 1. And Secretary Roque said that it won't be fair if President Duterte will face Justice Carpio, because President Duterte is still the sitting president. He's still our chief executive, the highest official in Malacanang. So it won't be fair if he will be facing an ordinary lawyer like Justice Carpio.
All right, waiting and seeing whether this will finally push through, whether or not in the original form. Now, on the issue of quarantine classifications, that of the updated ones, which areas are covered and what are the updates to the restrictions?
Actually, there are 2 areas announced by Secretary Roque this afternoon, Sean. First is the Zamboanga City. The local government of Zamboanga City requested the IATF to place them under modified enhanced community quarantine, effective immediately up until May 14. And the IATF has approved this request. And aside from Zamboanga City, there's also Tacloban. They will be placed under MGCQ, starting immediately up until May 31.
All right, and at last night's IATF meeting, what key points should we know about? Anything interesting from there?
Yes, actually, during the meeting of the members of IATF last night, they have all agreed to impose stricter protocols for returning Filipinos. They said, or Secretary Roque announced, that it will be mandatory to impose 14-day quarantine for all returning Filipinos. They will be required.
All right, it seems like we've lost that connection with Maricel Halili. Thank you anyway, Maricel Halili, joining us live from Mandaluyong. The Commission on Elections will be testing a mobile app voting system for overseas Filipino workers. COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon told Agenda that the trials will begin in June. Guanzon added that they will be coordinating with the Foreign Affairs Department for the test. Meanwhile, Commissioner Guanzon also called on Congress to push for mail-in voting for the 2022 elections, at least in remote areas.
Kung successful po ito, I think this is the future, di ba? This is the future technology of elections. Kasi mga tao, lahat naman, well, hindi naman lahat, marami ang may smartphone. So, lalo na po ang PWD, elderly, pregnant women, napakalaking tulong po kung makaboto tayo ng mobile app.
And an award-giving body in Hong Kong has recognized the Filipino documentary podcast on the Duterte administration's Oplan Tokhang. MJ Morfori with the details.
UMA Award, UMI International. The country's first podcast network, Puma Podcast, was recognized at the Human Rights Press Awards in Hong Kong. Its six-part podcast docuseries, Tokhang sa Tokhang, was given merit in the audio category, alongside the US-based National Public Radio's China's Growing Intolerance. Tokhang sa Tokhang knocks and inquires into the Duterte administration's bloody war on drugs and its lingering effects. Puma Podcast had also recently won 3 Anvil Awards, dubbed as the Palanca Awards of the public relations industry.
By the way, you be careful what you say now, because these guys, they're filming.
I know.
And from podcasting to vlogging, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, William and Kate, just launched their YouTube channel. Their debut upload shows a montage of their official engagements and their married life. William and Kate recently celebrated their 10th wedding anniversary. For News 5, MJ Marfori, we are One News.
And the so-called double mutant COVID variant first detected in India continues to drive up transmission in the South Asian country. Let's listen in to what experts know so far about the variant of interest in this video from Bloomberg.
So the new mutant variant has been called a variant of interest by the World Health Organization. Now, what we do know about this variant is that it's more transmissible, but thankfully not more deadly. What that means is that it can infect more people quickly, but it may not necessarily trigger more deaths. And that's the good part of the news. It is supposed to be one of the possible causes that may have triggered India's deadly second wave, because the sudden surge that we saw in India in the past 6 weeks in the number of cases, while social distancing norms and masking up and all those things could be other contributing factors, but the variants seem to be having a role to play in this. The good news is that vaccines seem to work against this variant. They are creating antibodies and they are able to prevent severe infections, which can trigger hospitalizations and deaths. The not so good part of the news, the bad news is that given the size of India's COVID outbreak, the sheer viral load, number of people who are infected and dying, that is bound to create more mutations. India is like a fertile ground for viruses to mutate in the normal course, given how packed the populations are. But especially a virus that's as transmissible as this may have second and third generation variants, and that is something the scientists are more worried about. One thing that the government has picked up on is genome sequencing, and the one thing we need to do more is a mass surveillance. Mass surveillance of genome sequencing, just keep mapping out the virus from positive COVID samples across the country, and that's the only way you can map the next set of mutants. Where are they coming up? Which part of the country? What is the exact nature of mutation? Now, not all mutations are harmful. Some are just harmless, but some of them make them more deadly, more transmissible, and those are the ones that need to be mapped and filtered out. The data needs to be shared globally among scientists, and that's the only way that we can essentially stay up to date with the virus and not play catch up.
For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.